What up? Uncle Benji here. Welcome back to the channel. I got a fun video for you today that's going to be a little different from what we've done in the past. Well, this whole channel is kind of a little bit of a show and tell of my collection. This one's going to be more showing and less telling because I got a lot to get through. This today is going to be a label spotlight collection of Backwoodz Studioz, my favorite hip-hop label. I'm going to go through my entire Backwoodz CD collection and chronologically just kind of show you all that I have, maybe show you a little bit of the inside of the booklets and the artwork. And I don't have every CD that Backwoodz has ever released, but I have the vast majority of them. And this is just a fun opportunity for me to go through the history and show you all a lot of CDs, a lot of cool artwork, and maybe some items that you want to try to track down if you're a CD collector. So we're going to start right off the top with this album, Camouflage. This was the first album that Backwoodz Studioz put out back in 2003. You can see the really cool artwork there on the CD. Has Virgil and Bond on the back, who are key contributors. But this was a reissue of this CD that came out in like 2008, I believe. The original CD was like a CDR that came out in 2003. That's not something I have in my collection. I didn't really start collecting until the end of 2005. So that's an item. Who knows, maybe I'll track it down one day, but I'm not too interested in getting those early CDs. It's not really a focus of mine. They're incredibly rare, really hard to find and pretty expensive, but you know, this is awesome to have in the collection, and you can really see where the label started. The next one I have came out in 2004, and this is The Chalice. This is Billy Wood's second solo album. This was the second Backwoodz album that I got into, because when I got this after getting another album that I'll talk about here in a minute, Camouflage wasn't available to find anywhere online. I could not find it, but I could find this CD. And even though this isn't like one of Billy Wood's like most critically acclaimed albums, it's still one of my favorites to this day. It's a very personal album to me. I think people that sleep on his back catalog should definitely tap into this album, The Chalice. And we have like some mixtapes. This Sound Clash with Mechagodzilla has some, you know, early Backwoodz material, a lot of it like mixed with different beats and some different artists that were associated with the label at the time. Not essential, but a cool piece to have in the collection. This Dr. Monochrome double album is the first time we heard the members of Superchron Flight Brothers together, Privilege and Billy Woodz. They hadn't formed the group yet, but this is an album where they each have their own CD. One is NPR, which is Privilege, and one is MAD, which is Billy Woodz. There's also a vinyl that has some of these songs, not the entire album. This is that CD, MAD and NPR. And then this CD that I've talked about before on the channel, I made a video on, Terra Firma the Reavers, the first Backwoodz album I ever acquired, the first time I heard Billy Woodz. This came out at the end of 2005 when I acquired that through Amazon, and you know, has a Monster Island Czars. And if you want to know more about this, look up my video where I talk all about it. They also put out a mixtape, which I talk about in that video. The Reavers, New York Times, has a lot of songs that probably didn't make the cut. A lot of the artists they were working with around that time. You can see that early Backwoodz logo on the back there. So that's one that little mixtape that they have. Another mixtape was from their in-house producer Bond, Golden Gun. This has some really cool stuff on it. Like some of these early mixtapes, like they're not all essential, but this is one I would track down. Some of the verses you've heard before, but there's some beats on here that later showed up on Superchron Flight Brothers albums that were just used on there for different purpose, and they showed up there. So it's kind of cool to see the genesis of some of that stuff. Another mixtape, Target Practice. This has some really cool and interesting songs on it. I would definitely encourage anyone to seek this one out, especially the Billy Woodz songs on here. Has some really unique things that he does. So check this out if you haven't. And then we get to Emergency Powers, which was, you know, came out in 2007. My favorite Superchron Flight Brothers album. The concept songs on this are just ridiculous. This is an amazing album. Make sure that you've heard that. This Bond Presents Tour Support was also like a mixtape, some remixes and some songs that didn't make the cut for Emergency Powers. You can see the same artwork on there I have on my poster behind me with Privilege and Woodz. That's a really great mixtape. And in 2008, they put out two albums, one by Virgil that Woodz did a lot of heavy lifting, kind of putting this together, several guest appearances and finding some old Virgil stuff they put on there. Really cool old picture there of Cannibal Ox when they were a lot younger. It's cool to see Vorgil is back on the scene here recently, making appearances and stuff. But that's a really great album. If you're a Can of Blocks fan and you haven't heard that, make sure you're familiar with that album. Invisible Men was a really cool group that consisted of Carnage and Mark Specht. I was a really big Mark Specht fan around this time, and he was doing a lot of work with Backwoodz. There's a really great Billy Woods feature on this, 52 Lashings. Mark Specht has his own label now where he puts out a lot of cool vinyl. But look out his early work because he's a great MC. Carnage as well, had a lot of Def Jux ties. This album, Indonesia, came out in 2009, and there's been a lot of discourse about experimental hip-hop recently. This is definitely an album to me that falls under that category. The beats especially, they're rhyming over all sorts of kinds of beats that most MCs would never attempt to, but it all comes off flawlessly, and there's some really cool artwork on this. They have some remixes on the second disc. They were remixing a lot of their songs during this era, and yeah, like some instrumentals of some of the songs on here too. This is a really cool CD package. It's really rare, but if you find a way to get your hands on this CD, I encourage you to do so because it's a really cool piece of the Backwoodz collection to own. They put out Cape Verde a year after that, in 2010. This was the last Superchron album. It has this booklet on the inside that has some really cool anecdotes about the different songs, the creation of them from Woods and Willie Green, who is heavily involved in other producers. And this CD isn't too hard to get your hands on. So if you want to see some cool history and read about the creation of the album around this time, definitely track down this Superchron album. Then they did a full remix of the Superchron album on this DirecTV CD. And there's some songs on here for sure that I prefer to the original beats and versions. So, not a lot of people know about this one, I don't think. So definitely track that down. Good Country People remix on there by Essex Dogs is one of my favorite remixes in any Backwoodz ever. So, that's at the very least, check out that song. Then we have the Can't Resurrection, which came out in 2011. This is a collaboration with AM Breakup's label Reservoir Sound, and Backwoodz Studioz has some features by Billy Woods and Teddy Faley and some other people that were working on the Reservoir Sound label. But this is a really cool album that not a lot of people are aware of as well. And then we have Billy Woods' magnum opus, History Will Absolve Me. You see I got the autograph on there. That's just how they came in the mail back then. Billy Woods was autographing a lot of things. We got the lyric book included inside, which becomes a big theme for a lot of Billy Woods records where we're having the lyric books on there. It's a cool CD to own, especially because you got Headband on here, which is the song with the Led Zeppelin sample that's not on streaming. You get that bonus song, The Darkness, with Vorgil Mega on the CD. So this is obviously a classic album in his catalog, but you get some bonus stuff with that CD. So I think it's worth tracking down. Then you have the Dower Candy CD, which came out in 2013, his collaboration with Blockhead. Also got an autograph on there. You got the really cool artwork by Ashes on there. This also has the lyrics on the inside, as we're seeing that as a theme as we're moving on. And then at the end of 2013, the same year, we have Race Music, the first full-length Arm & Hammer album. And it's an underrated album, I think. It's never come out on vinyl. Albums that came after this, I think, are superior, but this is still a really great album. The highs are really high. We got the autograph from both of them there on the inside. Some cool artwork. No lyrics in this, but there's an excerpt from James Baldwin book on the inside of it that's really cool as well. Another reason to check that out. Moving on, we got Billy Woods' solo album, Today I Wrote Nothing. And we got the autograph on the inside there with some cool artwork. And we got all the lyrics in there as well. And then we're moving on to Canyonland from Henry Canyons. I don't think a lot of people know about this. If you've been around going to Backwoodz shows in New York, you're probably familiar with Henry Canyons. He's there in the scene, but he's been putting out music with them for a long time. He has an album that's on vinyl with Backwoodz, but this was a cool CD that came out through the label, and I think more people definitely need to check it out, seek it out. Henry Canyon, Canyonlands. And you have the Elucid solo album, Save Yourself. Any of Elucid's albums you could really argue are his best, but this one is a really awesome album. Elucid's not putting the lyrics in there like Woods is, but he's got some really cool artwork throughout here, photography from Alexander Richter, as you'll see it on several of these CDs. And then we have Willie Green's album, Doc Savage, another album that I think probably more people need to know about. Willie Green was doing so much heavy lifting for Backwoodz at this time, obviously as their in-house engineer, but he was producing a ton more at this time. And This album features a lot of the people that were working with Backwoodz around that time, a lot of great posse cuts, collaborative tracks, all produced by the great Willie Green. And then we have Billy Wood's Known Unknowns, another great Billy Wood's album fully produced by Blockhead. There's some nice words from Woods in there, in addition to all the lyrics included on the inside. So another great Woods album. And then we have, this is from 2017, Arm & Hammer Rome. Definitely one of the best Arm & Hammer albums. The awesome artwork by Shane Ingersoll. You see a little bit more on the inside there, but obviously Rome, classic album. And then we have, from the very next year, Paraffin. Another one you could argue is their best. This is definitely one of my favorite albums on Backwoodz ever. One of my favorite Arm & Hammer albums. Alexander Richter, again, with the amazing photography. No lyrics included, like the theme with the Arm & Hammer. That's more just a Woods thing. But we move on to Hiding Places. This one has the lyrics, but we have some really cool alternate artwork for this. Like, he completely flipped it from what's on the cover on Hiding Places. And that's definitely a reason to seek out this CD. I don't want to show you too much more, but those who have it know that even just the way the lyrics are presented, the artwork on this is really, really cool. So this is a CD that's definitely worth tracking down. Then we have a Shrapnel CD. This is an EP, their first EP, Cobalt. This came autographed by both of the guys on the back. Some great songs, the start of like their collaborative, career here with Shrapnel. So that's a really cool piece to own. Then we have another Billy Woods album, Terror Management, that came out that same year, 2019. And a lot of people prefer this to Hiding Places, but they're, two amazing, amazing albums, and you got the lyrics included in here as well for that Terror Management CD. Then we move on to my favorite Arm & Hammer album, Shrines. This came out in 2020. The great photo with the tiger on the front. I mean, this album is just perfect. One of my favorite albums of all time, an essential album to own on CD. And that same year in 2020, Billy Woods and War Mother put out Brass, another incredible, incredible album. And the artwork throughout here is just incredible. They have a short story from Woods that's included in the book here that is reason enough just to get this CD to have that short story included, because it's crazy. And then we have Haram, the collaboration with The Alchemist. We got our famous cover here. The CD on the inside matches the shirt that I'm wearing today. And the booklet actually has lyrics in here from Woods and Elucid. So this is an Arm & Hammer album where you do get the lyrics included in here, and great photography from Alexander Richter throughout. Although this isn't really a Backwoodz release, this is the one CD I'm including that's not technically released on Backwoodz. It's the Alchemist version of Haram, and it has a CD with the music and a CD with the instrumentals. So I just wanted to include this one too, just an alternate way to have that amazing album. And then we have Premrock, Load Bearing Crow's Feet, with the alternate cover on here. Great artwork by Big Flowers, the collage work. Really cool thing about this CD, and a reason to get it, is it has Bardo featuring Billy Woods, the evidence-produced track, one of Billy Woods' best ever verses. Just an incredible, incredible song. It's worth getting the CD just to have that on physical form, because that's not on the vinyl. And then we have the partner in crime, Curly Castro and Shrapnel with Premrock, and this is Little Robert Hutton. An amazing album that I guess is getting a sequel here, I've heard, pretty soon. But, Curly Castro is very underrated, and this is his best album, so make sure you're tapped into Little Robert Hutton. Then we have Billy Woods' Aethiopes. This is arguably Woods' best album. This came out in 2022. No lyrics included in this one, so that's kind of rare on the Woods stuff. But, just an incredible, incredible album, Aethiopes. And then we have, from that same year, 2022, Elucid, I Told Bessie. This is probably my favorite Elucid album. Like I said, you could really argue about any Elucid album, which is your favorite, but he's got lots of, old photography from his past. Just a spectacular album. You already know. And then we have Billy Woods' Church, which also came out in 2022, his second album of 2022. He's got the alternate cover on there. Really cool artwork in here. We got a book with the lyrics included. This is my favorite Billy Woods album, Church. And then we have a Kai Solo CD, Spirit Roaming. This is his Backwoodz debut, and it's an incredible album, arguably Akai Solo's best. Really cool to have an Akai Solo album on CD through Backwoodz. And then we have Maps. Next Billy Woods album is collaboration with Kenny Siegel, the sequel to Hiding Places. And yeah, just fabulous artwork throughout the CD here. We got the lyrics included in the book. This is a great, great album. And then we have We Buy Diabetic Test Strips, the next Armand Hammer album. It was actually released through Fat Possum, so I'm lying when I said that one was the only one that wasn't released through Backwoodz. I remember there's a couple others that were put out through Fat Possum. This is arguably the best Armand Hammer album. Really, really great album. Definitely get that on CD if you love CDs. And here's one that's kind of underrated, I think, Blockhead the Aux. CD that he put out with a lot of different MCs guesting, some really cool posse cuts on here, some great beats by Blockhead. Definitely check this album out if you're not familiar with it. And then we get into 2024 and we have a Cavalier album, Different Type Time. And I'd been, hoping to get a Cavalier album on Backwoodz for a while. I think maybe a tweet I had might have kind of led towards it happening, so I don't want to take credit for this album, but hey, maybe if I didn't send that tweet, we wouldn't have seen these Cavalier albums. But this came to Backwoodz pretty much fully done, and then later in the year, Cav had another album on Backwoodz, Cine. This was fully produced by Child Actor. Really cool artwork throughout. Whichever one you prefer, I don't think there's a right answer. Both those Cavalier albums are amazing. Arguably his two best albums, both coming out within the same year. Cav just put out a new mixtape this year. It's incredible. I love Cavalier. Make sure you're tapped into his work. This Elucid album is another one that came out on Fat Possum, Revelator. I said I Told Bessie is probably my favorite. This is probably number 2. It's an incredible, incredible album. It's a great one to have on CD. And we have the Billy Woods original Gollywog album with really cool artwork on there, photography by Alexander Richter throughout. We have lyrics included in the book. Amazing, amazing album from last year. And then on Halloween of the year, he put out the remixed version of Gollywog with all August Phenom beats, some added features, some added verses and songs. This was my favorite album of 2025, this remixed version. Just an incredible album. If you can get this on CD, do. The video version of it is crazy too. Make sure you're tapped into that. Then we have Gabe Nandez's album, Sortilege. And this came out also last year, was one of my favorite albums of the year. And I've gone back into Gabe's back catalog and become a bigger and bigger fan. I can't wait for whatever he has in the future, but this is a spectacular album. It was in my top few albums of the year last year. Mercy, the follow-up to Haram, is this CD right here with The Alchemist and Armand Hammer. They have the alternate cover on the CD. Amazing album. I might be one of the few who prefers this over Haram. I think it's one of Armand Hammer's best. The lyrics are just incredible on that album. And then we're up to this year in 2025. We have Elucid and Seb Bash, I Guess You Had to Be There. You got the really cool artwork from Gang throughout this CD. One of the albums of the year this year for sure. I saw him perform live earlier this year and just wrecking these songs. Incredible album. And then we have the Fatboy Sharif, Crayola Circles. This is a collaborative album with Child Actor. Absolutely one of my favorite albums of the year. I think this is Sharif's best album. It's been on a loop since it came out just like a month or 2 ago. Obsessed with this album. Make sure you're tapped in. Then we have the very last album I'm going to talk about today. Another version of Maps, the new version of Maps. Because all of y'all were buying so much Maps, we had to repress it. And you can also get it on, tape or vinyl. But this is the CD version of Maps, a little bit more streamlined. Doesn't include the lyrics on this one. But yeah, that is the Backwoodz CD collection. So, really ripping and running through all those so you can see all of it. I have a few holes in the collection of items that I would like to acquire. Some of the really older stuff, some of the early mixtapes I've probably given up on getting, but there's a couple other CDs in the mix there that are attainable that I don't have that I'd like to track down at some point in time. So hope you learned something. Hope you found an album or saw a mixtape or something that you weren't aware of that you want to learn more about. If there's anything that I showed here today that you do want to learn more about or have questions about, let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk more about any of these albums. I love Backwoodz Studioz and everything they put out, and I try to buy as much as I can. And you know, these CDs really show, going all the way back to 2003 till today, all the work just that label has put out, a small independent label, and it's all amazing. So again, that's it for today, y'all. Uncle Benji, till next time, peace out.